Let me just say something about, one of my closest friends in the world, Father Monan. And unfortunately, he can't be with us tonight. And he probably wouldn't like me saying this, but he's 90 years old. And I was thinking about what Mary was talking about this morning, and it struck me that some of us, and I look at Father Monan. Father Monan became a son of Ignatius 72 years ago. And he's been a priest for over 60 years now. And for me, he has been one of my closest friends for going on almost 37 years now. And I've had the great fortune of having some pretty interesting positions in my commercial life over the years, and also in my nonprofit life. But there is no individual that I've come into contact with that I admire more and hold in higher esteem than J. Donald Monan. And that's because of, not just because he's a terrific intellect, and not because he's a priest. And he is as good a priest as I have met, and I've met some great priests. He's a gentle man. He's one of the smartest people I've ever known. I've literally worked with thousands of CEOs all across the world. He's in my top 10 in that regard. There would be no National Leadership Roundtable on Church Management if Don Monan weren't alive. And he had more influence on me and my thinking as we developed this than anybody else. And so I think we owe him a great debt of gratitude. But I do want to mention a couple of things, because some of you have not met Father Monan and don't know about his history. He's a philosopher by training. He taught and led Lemoyne College in a variety of capacities for many years. But he then became the president of Boston College in 1972. And most of you probably don't know, but in 1972, Boston College was bankrupt. It was bankrupt financially. It was bankrupt from almost a morale standpoint, and it was basically probably going to end up in Harvard University's, under Harvard University. And the Jesuits at that point had the wisdom to ask Father Monan to come down and take a look. And then Father Monan had the courage and the insight of something that we've been preaching here for the last 10 years, and he has been preaching to me for a long period of time. And that was the notion of marrying lay professional talent with the mission of the church, the educational mission of a university. And so he did a courageous thing. He and Father Ted Hesburgh at the time were communicating a lot, and they both rechartered. One was Notre Dame and one was Boston College, to put the lay trustees in charge of the university to bring that expertise in. And that was a revolutionary concept and a very courageous thing to do. And there's no accident that the Catholic higher education has been as strong as it's been. There's been no accident that the Catholic healthcare system has been as strong as it's been. And it's been no accident that many parts of the social welfare system in the Catholic Church has been what it's in. And it's because of the leadership, the clerical leadership, who understood what Father Wall was talking about, this melding of the professionalization of the administration of these institutions in order for the mission to actually blossom to its fullest. And it's that partnership and combination. And I have to say, it was extraordinarily inspiring to me to witness Archbishop Kurtz and Brian Reynolds today in the presentation that you gave. I've had the privilege of leading some pretty large and successful commercial organizations over the years. And I've given a lot of talks on management and whatnot. That was one of the best I ever heard. It was really, really terrific. And the kind of relationship Brian and Archbishop Kurtz had, I think, is the kind of relationship that Father Monan and I have enjoyed for a long period of time. And I like to think I had a little bit to do with the success that we had at Boston College. But it didn't just stop there. He was my go-to person 25 years ago when we started Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership. This was an organization, and Father Monan, who was the president of BC at that time, took a risk, both personally and institutionally, to be the first member organization and regional partner of the mentoring organization that we started. That at the time, there were 150,000 quality mentoring relationships in the country. We've now grown it to 4.5 million. And he was the first one to believe and to see the vision of it and to understand. And other things that he was involved in like that, when the judicial system of Massachusetts really started to not function effectively, they called on Father Monan to go in and reorganize that, and he brought in professional help to do that. So that's another example of him having an impact on mankind in the way that people were talking about this morning. One of the other things about Father Monan that people should know is he is a man of immense, immense courage. And he has spoken truth to power in ways that a lot of people haven't. And it's now, I think, it's not quite 30 years, it's 27 years, 28 years since there were 6 Jesuit priests and 2 women who worked with them who were killed in San Salvador. And it was Father Monan who went down to Washington on behalf of the Jesuit community and basically said that this wasn't right and that the United States should stand up and find the perpetrators of this thing. And he, with a group of folks, basically cajoled the Congress of the United States and the government of the United States to go and bring those people to justice. And he did things like that. I can regale you. He was a founder of the Big East. He was the president of the Jesuit Conference of Higher University. He was the president of the National University Association. Every single position that he's ever had turned out to be a leadership position. And I can't tell you how thankful I am that he chose to help us think through what we have accomplished over the last 10 years. There are two mottos. One is at Boston College, and one is for the Jesuits. And the Jesuits is Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam. And at Boston College, it was ever to excel. There's no human being who's been associated with either of those 2 institutions that has personified the message of those mottos better than Father Monan. And when he retired as president of BC, I happened to be chairman, and I made a comment that day that the spirit of J. Donald Monan will thunder through the halls of BC forever. And I can say the same thing, the spirit of Donald Monan will thunder through the halls of the Leadership Roundtable forever. So with that, I want to ask Brian Hare to come up to accept on Father's behalf the 2014 Leadership Roundtable Best Practices Award, honoring his lifelong commitment. We need you. Honoring his lifelong commitment to public service, higher education, and the Catholic Church, and his vision as a founding board member of the Leadership Roundtable, June 25th, 2014. Thank you so much.
So it is my privilege to read to you the remarks that Don Monan was asked to make in response to this award. So the following is a direct quote. My deep commitment to the importance of the church management mission grew from my experience of the dramatic improvements that have taken place in Catholic higher education in the past 40 years. Suffering seriously from dangerous inadequacy in meeting their business needs, colleges at that time began to reach beyond their traditional source of leadership among ordained and religious to seek out line officers and trustees possessed of formal business training and experience. The results were always positive, at times transformative. Parallel to the church's managerial situation are striking. God did not have to become man. Christ did not have to found a human church with all the weaknesses of being human. But he, in fact, assumed a human body susceptible to weakness and wounds, and he established a church to carry out his mission through the imperfect but perfectible judgment and acumen of its leaders. Given its place in today's rapidly changing cultures, the church itself has not only a widespread and compelling need, but a willing and available resource of business experience and expertise among its Catholic men and women laity. What an admirable mission to host the meeting of the two. Donald Monan. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Brian, for accepting the award on behalf of Father Monan. And Jeff, extraordinary reflections, not only on behalf of someone so integral to the Leadership Roundtable on Church Management, but pointing to his long history of contribution to everything he touched, and to your own personal testimony of friendship with him. You have a remarkable knack of deflecting attention away from yourself and pointing to others, which is a hallmark of excellent leadership. And I am so deeply grateful to you and to Father Monan.